Welcome. I want to share a story with you, a story you may not believe. Open your minds up. Let me take you back to that time 50 years ago. Let's go back with Mr. Peabody and the Wayback Machine. Mr. Peabody is going to take us back to the early 60s, a simpler time. A time when people sat around the dinner table and ate. A time when there were only 3 news channels and maybe a newspaper. And when news was on, it was news. It wasn't entertainment. And the family gathered around the table as you see here. If they had a call, they went over to the phone that was on the wall. A simpler time in the early 60s, maybe. They had their own problems. There was a Cold War going on with Russia, and they shot down Gary Powers in one of our spy planes that was flying over their country. Khrushchev, in front of the United Nations, took off his shoe and pounded on the lectern. He said he would bury us. The nuclear arms race was heating up, and they were teaching us in school to climb under kindling for a thermonuclear blast. A simpler time? Maybe. But let's take this gentleman's word for it. His name is Mike Chambers. He's got a story to tell you. It looks like he's on a cruise ship. He's trying to talk to us, and a voice comes over and says, "It's time to eat, Mr. Chambers." And he ignores them. And he tells us his story. He takes us back 2 years to the start of his journey. We're introduced to the Kennemits. This is a race that is 9 feet tall and weigh about 350 pounds. They landed on Earth. They addressed the United Nations. They said they were here solely to help humanity. And before he left a book on the table. The newspapers had the headlines, "The Kennemits offer peace and prosperity." What do you think? At this point, do you trust the Kennemits? Well, Mike was a cryptographer, and his team got to work on the book. And they found out real quickly that the title of the book was "To Serve Man." At the same time that this came about, many members of the United Nations were screaming for the Kennemit representative to take a lie detector test because they were still skeptical of him. So they performed a test. Now, the Kennemits talked to us by telepathy, but the answer came across real clear. The questioner asked, "What is the motive of the Kennemit people in offering such great gifts to the people of Earth?" And the Kennemit reply was, "I hope the people of Earth will understand and believe when I tell you that our mission upon this planet is simply this: to bring you the peace and plenty which we ourselves enjoy and which we have in the past brought to other races throughout the galaxy. When your world has no more hunger, no more war, no more needless suffering, we will have our award." And the machine showed no deviation. According to it, the Kennemit was telling the truth. During the following months, the Kennemits used our technology to help us eliminate war, disease, and hunger. They taught us ways to make cheap energy available to all. What do you think at this point? Do you trust the Canaanites? A lot of people did. And the Canaanites offered trips to their planet. And as more and more people went, they were getting back wonderful, wonderful, glowing reports of life on the Canaanites' home planet. So we had many, many people from Earth lining up to go on the Canaanites' home planet. 2 years into this, and Mike finally became convinced that since they couldn't decipher any more of the book than the title, and that the Canaanites really seemed to be helpful to us, that he would probably go on the trip. So he signed up. And as he was getting ready to board the flight, one of his assistants came to him, who had been working diligently trying to decipher the book that the Canaanite left. And as Mike was heading up the gangplank, she ran up to him and said, "Mike, it's a cookbook." It's a cookbook. So here's Mike on the flight, being encouraged to eat. He refuses to eat. And he looks at us and says, "How about you? You still on Earth or on the ship with me?" Really doesn't make very much difference, because sooner or later, we're all on the menu. All of us. I hope this enjoyed this journey into the past. Your ride awaits. Good dreams.